caught in the act. This past Tuesday morning around 8:30, I was zipping along Route 202 when I noticed flashing red lights in my rearview mirror. Anyone else ever been in that position? As I handed my license and registration and insurance card to the young police officer, he asked me where I was going. I explained I had an appointment to get my car inspected and serviced. A few minutes later, he returned and suggested I drive more slowly. I should drive more slowly. Let me be clear. Other than the officer extending mercy by choosing to give me a warning instead of a ticket, my experience of being caught in the act of speeding bears no resemblance to the gospel story we heard today. Let's look at the main characters in our gospel: the woman, the scribes and the Pharisees, and Jesus. First, the woman, who, though nameless, gets top billing. And isn't that unusual in our tradition, right? We refer to the story as the woman caught in adultery. Our second character, which is a group, the scribes and the Pharisees, who are posing questions, scheming to find something to charge Jesus with. In effect, these were the teachers and interpreters of the law, the Jewish law. They took advantage of the situation by humiliating and shaming this woman. They use her as a prop for dramatic effect to figuratively really entrap Jesus. Although clearly stating that under the law of Moses, the punishment for adultery was stoning, they fail to mention that in the law, in both Deuteronomy and Leviticus, death is dictated to both men and women who are found in adultery. The question posed to Jesus, what do you say about it? It's further complicated by the fact that under Roman law, it was illegal for Jews to exact capital punishment in cases where law required it. The scribes and the Pharisees wanted to trap Jesus by getting him to either reject the law of Moses or the authority of Rome. Our final character, Jesus, facing what appears to be a no-win situation, responds by bending down and doodling in the dirt. After being peppered by questions, Jesus straightens up and says, "Let the person among you who is without sin throw the first stone at her." Then he bends down again and writes in the dirt. The crowd dissipates, beginning with the elders. Jesus's answer outsmarted the Pharisees and proved to be far less entertaining for the masses gathered. How really revolutionary that Jesus sees and respects the woman, ultimately setting her free. Let's remember, in the time of Jesus, sin was seen not necessarily as personal, but as something that destroyed the unity of the community. Rather than directly answer the question posed to him, Jesus's response effectively indicts everyone, the Pharisees, the scribes, and everyone gathered, by holding up a mirror and inviting them to evaluate their own behavior. Maybe today's invitation to each of us is the same, to self-reflection. Put yourself into the story. Do we relate to the woman accused of a crime? Have we developed mastery at placing shame and blame and guilt on others? are we more likely to be the person judging? And how are we feeling when we drop our stones and head home? What a stark contrast between the severity of the law and the mercy of God. Jesus takes it to the next level, offering us once again an extravagant example and definition of what is just and fair. Reflecting on this gospel challenges us to learn the real meaning of mercy, that our hearts need to change. Jamie Waters, who is a professor of Catholic thought and studies at DePaul University in Chicago, suggests that we retire the woman caught in adultery and consider a label with a more appropriate emphasis, either the woman whom Jesus saw and respected, or Jesus corrects Jewish leaders. In either case, I think Jamie's point is valid. How we name something influences the way we interpret it. One story that gives me hope this week comes from musician Carrie Newcomer's newsletter. She highlights the international peacemaker, John Paul Lederach, who, and I quote, tells the story of two groups of African women who had lived on either side of war. The dividing line between their countries was only a mile or so from their villages. They decided that nothing would change unless they could see each other as people who had suffered and who had a story. So what they did is they started meeting at noon at the dividing line and telling their stories of love and of loss. It created a node, like a point on a spider web that can vibrate across an entire structure. It shifted something. Point. It doesn't take 100% of people to create change. It only takes nodes, individuals, and communities who are willing to do the extremely hard work of listening, hearing, and doing something decent in the midst of all that is indecent. End quote. My friends, I know we all make judgments about others, whether it's the people that we know personally or public figures. Imagine, just imagine how different our world would be if each of us gave up just one of the judgments we hold so tightly. Wouldn't it feel amazing to be caught in the act of being the point on the spider web that positively affects the human community? God bless you all.